all the stuff came out back in January, near the end of January, with the lawsuit filed by Janelle Grant against Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE. Since all that stuff came out with all the sordid details, Vince Russo on his channel, he's put up a lot of content, a lot of videos, getting into all this stuff, with McMahon and with the whole lawsuit. And with Russo, I mean, his stance, I felt for the most part, was it was kind of like, Vince isn't really a good person, a good human being. Vince is guilty of all this stuff, or most of it, and it's good riddance to bad rubbish, essentially. And with he does a lot of videos, and he'll have at least a video a day that he gets uploaded on his channel. And he'll speak about this stuff with Ben Hameen and Stevie Richards. I know Ben Hameen, he's big into like conspiracies. He thought that a lot of stuff was going to come out just before WrestleMania. It didn't, but he thought a lot of stuff was going to come out. I don't think it was necessarily all about Vince, but I think he thought a lot of stuff that would come out maybe about, I don't know, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Bruce Pritchard. But I've been watching a lot of the videos with the stuff that Vince has been doing on this Russo. And with this stuff, I think, he's been, from what I got, was he was basically saying from everything, all the videos, is that, he feels that Vince McMahon is guilty. And there was a lot of stuff with Vince, what he said, and from his experiences from working with McMahon, where, the reason that the straw that broke the camel's back with Russo, why he left in late 1999, was because that, Vince McMahon told him he should go hire a nanny, that he wanted more time to see his family, but he was told, he wanted to spend more time with his kids, but he was just told flat out, hire a nanny. But now Russo had a video, he posted a video yesterday, and he's saying, why is WWE gloating about Vince McMahon's absence? And now all of a sudden, Russo has kind of changed his tune a little bit on this, and he's kind of like, he's got a lot more now like empathy for Vince with everything that's happened to him. And he's getting into all this stuff about how, all of a sudden now it feels like on camera that people are gloating, and they're indirectly like kind of saying like, oh, haha, you're gone now, I'm glad you're gone, that kind of thing. And then he's getting into this whole stuff about how people, I guess the perception out there was that, when Vince was around, it was like a lot of people backstage are walking on eggshells, they're very intimidated by Vince. And he's getting into this stuff, you should be. I mean, ultimately, you're there to do a job. It's not like you're on vacation. So with this, I'm going to play this clip, and it's really, Ben Hameen and Steve Richards don't get a word. Russo just goes on and he rants. But Russo has certainly changed his tune on this, I feel. But I'm going to play the clip, and then I'll react at the end. So here we go.
But I got to tell you something, Stevie and Ben, and I've been feeling this for a while, and I really felt it last night. And I'll tell you who, to me, the biggest culprit is. The biggest culprit to me is Michael Cole. Because, Ben, let me tell you what I'm seeing that's really starting to bother me. And, guys, you saw yesterday, bro, the Triple H WrestleMania Vegas commercial telling us, hey, if you haven't noticed, WWE is hotter than ever, the whole 9 yards. Guys,
I'm going to say that.
God, is it me? Or is this company like almost starting to gloat that Vince McMahon is no longer around? Bro, you know what it reminds me of, bro? It reminds me of when you, back in the day, you can never do this today, Stevie, because you'll get arrested. Back in the day, bro, the rule of thumb was if you're trying to paper train a puppy and the puppy shits on the floor, you gotta take the puppy over. You gotta put his nose in the poop, and no, to let him know you don't poop here, you poop there. I don't know about you guys, bro, but I am starting to feel like they're really enjoying rubbing Vince's shit face in the shit. If I read one more interview of how things are changed and how things are different backstage and nobody's walking on eggshells and it's a jovial and enjoyment atmosphere. First of all, bro, I don't know if people have forgotten this, Ben. Okay, bro? There's a reason they call it work. They call it work, bro, because it's work. You don't go to work to have fun. You go on vacation to have fun. It's called work, bro, when you have a boss that demands a lot out of you. You're damn right, bro. You're going to feel like you're walking on eggshells, bro. Like if you F up, you are going to have to answer to this. But it just seems like, and I'm going to give you a couple examples, Stevie, of last night. It seems like it is a big party because daddy's not around anymore. And bro, I just
no law and order,
myself,
right?
Bro, can you imagine if this dude is found innocent? Just argument's sake, everything they've put this dude through, including his own daughter, not freaking acknowledging him. Stevie, listen, you and I can sit here all day about the dress, about Vince get a nanny to watch your kids. We all day long, you and I can sit here about the type of human being Vince McMahon is, and we never want to be that guy. But bro, when it comes to business, Ben, bro, have these guys forgotten this dude made probably over 1,000 millionaires in his career, bro? Do you know how much money this guy made for the Takers, the Rocks, the Austins, the Warriors, the Savages, the Hogan? You know how much money this guy made for a lot of people? You know, this guy mortgaged his entire life when him and his beautiful young wife, Linda, could have been out on the street taking a gamble, bro, with WrestleMania when a lot of people wouldn't have done that. Now I'm feeling like, Ben, it's this big jovial party. Bro, there's only one thing wrong with your jovial party. Because, listen, Stevie, over the last 10 years, Ben, maybe Vince was getting older and getting more and more out of touch, and it was becoming more and more obvious. I hate to break the news to everybody. Bro, that happens to everybody with age. That is happening to me, and I'm only 63. I'm not 78, okay? There's no question about that. But you know, Stevie and Ben, it's stuff like this. First of all, bro, every freaking in-ring they're doing now where the talent has the freedom, and I'm talking about the KO show, the RKO show. I'm talking about last night's opening scene with Judgment Day. All these in-rings you guys are doing where it's much freer and you don't have to follow a script. Bro, you're coming across like you don't know what the F you're doing. They suck, bro. And it's coming across like you're freeballing it and you don't have a clue. And then...
Right, so there we go there. But, I mean, so where to start there? I mean, first off, it just, to me, is quite interesting how all of a sudden it's almost like Russo is saying, I kind of feel bad for Vince now. And, you know, and it's kind of bad that if people are there in WWE are indirectly kind of rubbing it in a bit, well, that's bad. You know, I feel for Vince. You know, I've got empathy for him. But it's a bit hard, though, and this is where I kind of Russo loses me, because Russo, for a long time, was quite critical of Vince McMahon, very critical of kind of creative. You know, there was times where Vince would say, oh, well, you know, I'm not going to reveal my ideas. I'm only if somebody pays me, and then later on it's, I'll help WWE for free, and you know all this stuff. He's gone back and forth a bit, you know. And I like Vince overall, and Russo's talked about before about how Vince could be like kind of a bully, and he got off intimidating other people, and all this stuff. And, Russo's brought up, I mean, Russo says, he never saw anything inappropriate with Vince and other women. And I'll take Russo on his word. I think Russo was just doing his own thing, minds his own business. He's a devoted family guy. So I don't think Russo would have noticed any of that going on. Maybe it didn't, but then I know Russo has said before about, when he was there was nothing happening with Vince and other making out with other women, when Russo was writing the show. But I mean, the thing is, all of a sudden, let's say if people are kind of like gloating about his absence, if the Michael Coles and some of the other people, I don't know, like Seth Rollins or a few others, right? But I mean, Michael Cole, let's take Michael Cole as an example, right? Michael Cole probably for years has been treated like crap. Not just from Vince personally, but the company. And a lot of people in the company, right? And, you've got Vince that was yelling in his headset almost all the frickin' time on a 2-3 hour broadcast, and that went on for years and years, about 25 years. Can you blame Michael Cole for feeling like, phew, now I can just go out, I can be free, I can try things, I can do things that I didn't do before, I'm free to do my job, I'm gonna have some fun. The whole thing about him saying work is supposed to be work, it's not supposed to be fun. I get it, right? You're not like on a Caribbean cruise, you're there to work. But at the same time, you can still have a level, I feel, of comfort at work. You should be able to enjoy your job and like it, and your time at work shouldn't be made out to be, shit, like you're in hell from dominating bosses, I'd heard a statistic one time that 78% of people leave their job not because they don't like the job, but because of management. It's management that can fuck up your time at work, your working career, and Vince probably did that for a lot of people. He made it a very toxic environment, and that's what CM Punk said. Remember, before he left, he said about how very toxic Vince had made it for him. And I'm sure a lot of people have that same story with Vince. All the people he fell out with, from, Warrior, Hogan, Bruno Sammartino, him and Austin had a bit of a falling out for a while. All those top guys, right? Hulk Hogan. They got sick of Vince's crap. And they could only take so much of it, And again, I remember Warrior telling stories about how he felt that it was Vince and Hogan had kind of an agenda there for the personal life of talent to be just hell, just keep them on the road. And again, things have changed now. The culture's changed when you've got a company like AEW that people can only have to work once or twice a week. Different times. It's not people just, their personal life's just in bits. And they're in pain and always on the road, living out of a suitcase. The culture has changed somewhat in professional wrestling. But the whole thing about the culture, I mean, yeah, that was the perception, right? And I believe that probably was the case. I do believe that to be true. But you should still want to go to your job and enjoy what you do for the most part, right? Not everybody enjoys what they do. I get it with a job. I get that. But there should still, I believe, be that level of comfort there. And you shouldn't have to deal with a dominating boss that always has to wag their finger at you. Oh, you do this, you do that. It should become a bit more natural to me in my book. But yeah, Vince has had heat with people, but then Vince is always going to have the people that are loyal to him. So I think no matter how this stuff goes with Vince and the whole, lawsuit with Janelle Grant, there's always going to be the Undertakers and the John Cenas and the Rocks that are going to be loyal to Vince. That will never change. Have some people changed their tune on Vince? I mean, I haven't really seen the top guys in interviews change anything. And Vince is saying all this stuff about how things at a different time and reading these things that they say in interviews. But at the end of the day, that's just part of its media. Talent are always doing interviews. They're going to be asked these questions. They're not just going to say, sorry, I'm not answering that. They're going to be professional and they're going to ask the question and they're going to ask it in a professional diplomatic way. And most people, I think, have been quite cool. You know, you got a guy like Randy Orton. He doesn't have to follow the whole, you know, give the media trained answers. You know, Orton will, you know, curse a little bit, but Orton's still a very open guy. But I don't know. I mean, I get where Russo's coming from in a way, right? Because there can sometimes be when someone that you don't like and they're going through some shit. There's a term for this. I've heard it before. Is it Schadenfreude? It's when you get a kick out of the misery and with other people. You know, if other people are harmed, right? Schadenfreude, I believe the term is. And is there a bit of that going on with people in the company towards Vince? Maybe to a degree. If he had really made their life, it made their time they are working in the company very, very, you know, it was, you know, very much an unpleasant experience for them. So I could understand that in a way. People thinking, well, he's gone. Thank God he's gone. And what? He was doing all that stuff all the time, Vince. All this stuff with these women and all this other stuff with just his way of the abuse and the control and all the, you know, the manipulation. I mean, it's interesting because all of a sudden Vince Russo is kind of like, I feel like he is changing his tune on this. And I don't know if Vince is just doing that because it's like to get clicks or just to be different, give a different type of opinion, or he really believes it. Because I remember Vince Russo saying before something like, well, you know, this idea that Vince was like the hardest working person, you know, but all that stuff, all this stuff with, you know, sexual intercourse that was going on and the you know, the offices in Connecticut, well, how much work was there really going on? And that was an interesting point, you know. I mean, Vince no doubt worked his ass off, right? But I mean, he, like all these very rich, successful people, he was motivated by a lot of things. It was ego, it was greed, it was money, and I suppose it was women, it was sex as well. And So Russo, I feel, has changed his tune a little bit on Vince because I felt he was always kind of more of a anti-Vince, not like a human being, but just as the way that he operated. So him kind of changing his tune on Vince a little bit, it was a little bit like, I don't know. It's like, it was kind of like you were more kind of like, well, it was like, fuck, you know, if this is happening, this is true, then he's got to go, right? And it does look like this stuff did happen, you know. I mean, Vince is going to have one of the best lawyers, you know. He's still got a ton load of money, and he can afford one of the best lawyers. And they're going to do their best to discredit Janelle Grant and, you know, say that she was lying about her past and all this other stuff. And but then you see all the stuff now with John Laurinaitis. He's changed his tune, right? It went from, John Laurinaitis is a victim. He was a victim as well as Janelle Grant was, and now John Laurinaitis is siding with Vince and his team, the lawyers, and saying that Janelle Grant was a liar, and now kind of more like they're on the same team now, they're the same side. So again, all these different things happening and changes and people there, we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, all I know is is it possible that Vince will, you know, the case will be dropped or whatever, there'll be an out-of-court settlement. I don't know, it could be. But then, I mean, but when all's said and done, though, let's face it, Vince McMahon is gone. He's definitely not coming back. It's hard for me to, like, I almost have empathy for Vince McMahon. Keyword being almost, right? Vince Russo is a little bit different because he's worked closely beside him for a long time. So he may have it in him to have that empathy towards him. But I don't know. At the same time, I just feel like Vince Russo kind of flips and flops a little bit, you know? And, you know, I do understand where some of this, where he's coming from. But, you know, and he's definitely, what he's trying to say is that, you know, a lot of talent do need that guidance. They do need that direction. They just can't go out and do whatever the hell they want to do. Because that one might not necessarily get over. It just might not, you know, translate over to television. But I feel that, you know, yeah, I mean, I certainly don't think this Paul Levesque era is going to be this, like, great thing. Like people are trying to compare it to, like, almost being like the set will be on as good as the Attitude Era, if not better. But at the same time, though, it's like, well, you know, there was WWE and there was AEW. You know, I'd probably think if I was a talent, I'd rather go and work for Tony Khan, because it would just be so intimidating, and it would be just that constant stress that you'd be in, having to answer to Vince, and you'd be probably scared to death of him, right? I mean, most talent must have been, right? But again, it's not all it's cracked up to be, right? Because in the end, CM Punk got fed up with Tony Khan and all the other politics and stuff with the Bucks and Omega and AEW, so they've got their own problems, and Punk in the end went back, so I guess you can, never say never. And I suppose when there's all these rumors and stuff that have been reported about Vince, could he set up his own wrestling promotion to compete with his very own creation from WWE? I mean, just never say never in the wrestling business, never say never. But, Russo might have a degree of empathy there for Vince, but when all said and done, even though I had a lot of respect for him at one point for everything he did, I don't really have empathy for the old man. But that's my thoughts on that, guys. So feel free to hit the subscribe button, and give me your take. Let me know what your thoughts are on this stuff with Vince. And do you think this is just Russo? Does he really mean what he's saying all this stuff about, or is it just shtick? Is it just him trying to get likes? But that's my thoughts for now, guys. That's me. Thank you.